Commander Zara stepped off the transport shuttle and onto Gamma Station 7. Her purple skin gleamed under the bright corridor lights as she adjusted her military uniform. The Kytherian warrior had traveled far from her home world to oversee this joint research facility. Her people were known across the galaxy as fierce fighters and brilliant strategists. This assignment felt like a step down from commanding warships, but orders were orders. The station hummed with activity. Representatives from dozen different species worked together on various research projects. Zara had studied the files during her journey, learning about each crew member and their specialties. Most were scientists and engineers, with a small security team to maintain order. Commander Zara, welcome to Gamma Station 7. A tall, gray-skinned Vorthan approached her. His name was Grix, the head of station security. His team of 6 Vorthan warriors stood behind him, each one heavily armed and intimidating. I trust your journey was comfortable. Zara nodded. Thank you, Grix. I look forward to working with your team. Please show me to my quarters so I can review the daily operations reports. As they walked through the main corridor, Zara observed the station layout. The research labs occupied the upper levels, living quarters were in the middle section, and engineering and maintenance areas filled the lower decks. Everything seemed well organized and efficient. The research teams work around the clock, Grix explained. We have 3 major projects running simultaneously. The biggest challenge is keeping all these different species working together peacefully. They passed a group of small, furry Zalani scientists carrying data tablets. 2 tall, blue Aquarian engineers discussed water recycling systems near a wall panel. Everyone seemed focused on their work, though Zara noticed how quickly they moved aside when Grix and his security team approached. What about the maintenance crew? Zara asked. How do they fit into the station hierarchy? Grix laughed, a harsh sound. The maintenance workers are mostly from less advanced species. They keep the basic systems running while the real scientists do the important work. You will not need to concern yourself with them, Commander. They reached the maintenance section, where several workers in simple gray uniforms repaired various equipment. Most were from species Zara did not recognize, but one figure caught her attention. A human male worked alone at a control panel, his movements careful and precise. He was shorter than the Vorthans but taller than most other species on the station. His brown hair was neat and his clothes clean, unlike what Zara expected from a maintenance worker. That is Ben, Grix said, following her gaze. One of the human maintenance staff. Quiet fellow, keeps to himself mostly. Humans are useful for small repair work since they can fit into tight spaces. Ben looked up from his work and made brief eye contact with Zara. His brown eyes seemed intelligent and alert, not the dull look she expected from a simple laborer. He nodded respectfully before returning to his task. How long has he worked here? Zara asked. About 2 years. Came with good references from another station. Does his job well enough, I suppose. Grix sounded dismissive. The humans are harmless creatures. They avoid conflict and keep their heads down. As they continued the tour, Zara found herself thinking about the human worker. Something about him seemed different, though she could not identify what exactly. Perhaps it was the way he moved, or how other crew members seemed to subtly avoid disturbing him while he worked. Her quarters were spacious and comfortable, with a large window overlooking the research labs. Zara spent the next several hours reviewing station reports and personnel files. The human named Ben had an interesting history. He had worked on 5 different stations over the past 8 years, always in maintenance roles, always receiving positive evaluations. His previous supervisors noted his reliability and skill with complex systems. What struck Zara as odd was how often Ben transferred between stations. Most maintenance workers stayed in one location for many years. Ben seemed to move every 12 to 18 months, always requesting transfers to new assignments. His file contained no disciplinary actions or complaints, which made his frequent moves even more puzzling. Over the following days, Zara established her routine as station commander. She attended daily briefings with department heads, reviewed security reports, and inspected different sections of the facility. The work was mostly administrative, far less exciting than commanding a battle cruiser, but she performed her duties diligently. During her inspections, she often encountered Ben working throughout the station. He seemed to have access to every section, from the sensitive research labs to the restricted engineering areas. Other crew members greeted him politely but briefly, as if they respected him but did not want to interrupt his work. Zara began to notice small details that seemed important. When Ben entered a room, conversations often became quieter. Other maintenance workers deferred to him on technical decisions, even though his file listed no supervisory position. Most interesting was how the Vorthan security team, normally aggressive toward other species, gave Ben a wide berth and never bothered him with their usual harassment. "Grix," Zara said during their weekly security meeting. "I have been observing the maintenance crew. Ben seems to have unusual influence for someone in his position. Are you certain he poses no security risk?" Grix shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "The human has all proper clearances. His background checks came back clean. Perhaps other workers respect his technical knowledge. Have you ever seen him in conflict with anyone on the station?" "No, Commander. As I said, humans avoid confrontation. Ben keeps to himself and does his job. There have been no incidents involving him." Something in Grix's tone suggested he was not telling the complete truth, but Zara decided not to press the issue immediately. Instead, she made her own observations over the next few weeks. The station operated smoothly under her command. Research projects proceeded on schedule, and there were only minor disputes between different species groups. However, Zara began to notice unusual energy readings in various sections of the facility. The patterns were subtle but consistent, appearing in areas where Ben frequently worked. She brought the readings to the attention of Dr. Yella, the chief science officer. The elderly Kytherian scientist studied the data with growing concern. "These energy signatures are unlike anything in our database," Dr. Yella reported. "They appear to be some form of scanning or monitoring activity, but I cannot identify the source or purpose." "Could this be sabotage?" Zara asked. "Perhaps someone is gathering intelligence on our research projects." "It is possible, but the patterns are too subtle for most known surveillance equipment. Whatever is generating these readings is either very advanced or very carefully hidden." Zara increased security patrols and ordered complete sweeps of all sensitive areas. The Vorthan teams found nothing suspicious. The energy readings continued to appear sporadically, always in different locations, always just beyond the edge of detection. During this time, Zara found herself paying closer attention to Ben's activities. She noticed he worked longer hours than other maintenance staff, often staying late to complete repairs in critical systems areas. His movements through the station seemed purposeful rather than random, as if he was following some internal schedule or priority list. One evening, Zara decided to observe Ben directly. She followed him at a distance as he made his rounds through the lower engineering sections. His work appeared normal, checking systems and making minor adjustments, but there was something methodical about his approach that seemed more complex than routine maintenance. At one point, Ben stopped at a junction box that Zara knew had been recently repaired by another technician. He opened the panel and spent several minutes examining the internal components. His hands moved with surprising speed and precision as he made what appeared to be very fine adjustments to the circuitry. When Ben finished and moved on to the next location, Zara approached the junction box. Everything looked normal, but she made a note of the exact location and time. Later, she checked the maintenance logs and found no record of Ben being assigned to work in that area. The pattern repeated over several nights. Ben would visit locations throughout the station, spending brief amounts of time at various systems, making adjustments that did not appear in any official work orders. His activities seemed to correspond with the mysterious energy readings Dr. Yella had detected. Zara faced a difficult decision. The evidence suggested Ben was engaged in unauthorized activities, possibly sabotage or espionage. However, all station systems continued to function perfectly, and there were no signs of actual damage or security breaches. If Ben was planning something harmful, he was being extremely careful and patient about it. She decided to confront him directly rather than involve the Vorthen security team immediately. Something told her that there was more to this situation than simple criminal activity. Ben had been on the station for 2 years without causing any problems. His work record was exemplary, and other crew members seemed to trust him despite his quiet nature. The opportunity came when Zara encountered Ben working alone in a seldom-used storage area. He was kneeling beside a power distribution unit, his tools spread out in neat rows beside him. The soft hum of machinery and distant ventilation systems provided the only sounds. "Ben," she said quietly, not wanting to startle him. He looked up calmly, showing no sign of surprise or guilt at being discovered. "Commander Zara. Is there something you need? I have been observing unusual energy readings throughout the station. They seem to correlate with areas where you have been working." Ben sat back on his heels and studied her face carefully. For a long moment, they looked at each other in silence. Zara had the strange feeling that he was evaluating her, measuring her trustworthiness or perhaps her threat level. "The readings you detected," Ben said finally, "are not harmful to the station or crew. I can assure you of that. That is not an explanation. What are you doing, and why is it not in the official maintenance logs?" Ben stood up slowly, and Zara noticed how smoothly he moved despite being in a cramped position moments before. His tools disappeared into his belt pouches with practiced efficiency. "Some things are better left alone, Commander. The station is safe. Your crew is safe. That should be enough." Before Zara could respond, Ben walked past her toward the exit. She could have ordered him to stop, could have called for security, but something held her back. The certainty in his voice, the way he carried himself, suggested that forcing a confrontation might not end well for anyone involved. As Ben disappeared around the corner, Zara realized that her quiet maintenance worker was far more than he appeared to be. The question was whether he represented a threat to her station, or something else entirely. The mysterious energy readings continued, and Ben went about his duties as if their conversation had never happened. But Zara sensed a change in the atmosphere aboard Gamma Station 7, as if something important was building toward an inevitable conclusion. 3 weeks passed since Zara's conversation with Ben in the storage area. The mysterious energy readings continued to appear throughout Gamma Station 7, but all systems functioned normally. Zara decided to monitor Ben quietly rather than force another confrontation. She noticed he worked even longer hours now, his movements becoming more focused and deliberate. The morning shift began like any other. Dr. Yella was reviewing research data in the main lab when her instruments started displaying unusual readings. At first, she thought it was equipment malfunction, but the patterns were too organized to be random errors. "Commander Zara to the science lab immediately," Dr. Yella's voice came through the communication system, urgent and worried. Zara arrived within minutes to find the elderly scientist staring at her displays with growing alarm. "What is the situation, Doctor?" "Large energy signatures approaching from deep space. Multiple contacts, moving at high speed toward our position." Dr. Yella's fingers danced across her control panel, trying to get clearer readings. "Commander, these are not normal ship signatures. The energy output is enormous." Zara moved to the sensor station and studied the data herself. Her military training helped her interpret the readings quickly. At least 50 vessels, possibly more. They are moving in battle formation and heading directly for us. Should we send a distress signal to the nearest Kytherian fleet? Dr. Yella asked. The closest military ships are 6 days away at maximum speed. Whatever this is, we will have to handle it ourselves. Zara activated the station-wide communication system. All personnel, this is Commander Zara. We have detected an unknown fleet approaching our position. All non-essential crew should report to emergency stations. Security teams prepare for possible hostile contact. Throughout the station, crew members stopped their work and looked at each other with concern. Most of them were scientists and researchers, not soldiers. The Vorthen security team represented their only real defense against attack. Grix arrived at the command center with his warriors, all of them carrying heavy weapons. "Commander, what are your orders? Should we prepare for boarding defense? First, we need to identify who these ships belong to. Try to establish communication." Zara hoped this might be a misunderstanding or perhaps a military convoy passing through the area. Dr. Yella worked frantically at her station, trying to get better sensor readings as the unknown fleet drew closer. "Commander, I am detecting massive energy weapons on these ships. This is definitely a military force." The main view screen activated, showing the approaching fleet as small dots of light against the darkness of space. As the ships grew closer, their true size became apparent. Each vessel was larger than a Kytherian battle cruiser, with strange organic curves and dark metal hulls. "I know those ship designs," Grix said quietly, his voice filled with fear. "Those are Devourer vessels." Zara felt her blood turn cold. Every species in the galaxy knew about the Devourers, though few had encountered them and survived to tell about it. They were a nomadic race that traveled from system to system, consuming all life and resources they found. No negotiation was possible with them. They took everything and left only empty worlds behind. "How many people are on this station?" Zara asked. 237 crew members from 15 different species, Dr. Yella replied. "And our defensive capabilities?" Grix looked uncomfortable. "The station has basic shields and a few light weapons. We were built for research, not warfare. My team has personal weapons, but nothing that could damage ships of this size." The communication system crackled to life with a harsh, alien voice. "Attention inhabitants of the research station. You have been selected for harvest. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick. Resistance is pointless." Zara looked around the command center at the frightened faces of her crew. As a Kytherian warrior, she had trained her entire life for combat, but this situation seemed hopeless. Still, she could not simply surrender her people to these monsters. "This is Commander Zara of Gamma Station 7. We are a peaceful research facility with no military value. Please continue on your course and leave us alone." The alien voice laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "All life has value to us, Commander. We will begin boarding procedures in 10 minutes. Any resistance will result in slower, more painful harvesting methods." The communication channel closed, leaving the command center in tense silence. Outside the viewports, the Devourer fleet moved into position around the station. Escape pods would be useless since the enemy ships surrounded them completely. "All security teams to defensive positions," Zara ordered. "Seal all critical areas and prepare for boarding. We will make them work for every section of this station." Grix and his Vorthen warriors spread out to guard the main entry points. Other crew members who had military training joined them, though most were scientists with little combat experience. Zara knew they could delay the Devourers for a short time, but defeat was certain. As the enemy prepared their boarding craft, Zara made one final inspection of the station defenses. She found Ben in the lower engineering section, working at a control panel with unusual intensity. His movements were faster and more precise than she had ever seen before. "Ben, you need to get to a secure area. The Devourers will board the station within minutes." He looked up at her, and Zara was startled by the change in his appearance. His brown eyes now had flecks of gold, and his skin seemed slightly paler. "Commander, I need you to listen carefully. Get all crew members away from sections 7 through 12. Use the emergency passages to reach the upper levels." "What are you talking about?" "Those sections contain our main life support systems. We cannot abandon them. Trust me. Move your people now." Something in Ben's voice commanded obedience. It was not a request but an order from someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Before Zara could ask more questions, the station shook violently as the first Devourer boarding pods attached to the hull. Emergency lights flashed red, and the communication system announced hull breaches in multiple locations. "They are inside," Grix reported over the radio. "First wave coming through docking bay 3. Zara heard the sound of energy weapons and shouting from the upper levels. The battle had begun, but she found herself reluctant to leave Ben alone in the engineering section. "I am not going anywhere until you explain what is happening," she told him firmly. Ben's fingers moved across the control panel with impossible speed, activating systems that Zara did not recognize. "Commander, what do you know about Earth's military history?" "Very little. Humans have never been considered a military power. That is because we prefer it that way." Ben stepped back from the control panel, and Zara noticed his posture had changed completely. He stood straighter, his shoulders broader, and his movements carried the confidence of a trained warrior. "During the Terran War, my people created soldiers designed for one purpose: to win battles that could not be won by normal means." The station shook again as more boarding pods attached to the hull. Through the communication system, they could hear Grix and his team fighting desperately against the first wave of Devourer warriors. "What kind of soldiers?" Zara asked, though she was beginning to understand. "We called them berserkers. Genetically enhanced humans with cybernetic implants and advanced combat training. We were designed to be the last resort when everything else failed." Ben reached up and touched a spot behind his left ear. Zara heard a soft electronic beep, and suddenly the air around Ben seemed to shimmer with energy. His brown hair darkened to black, and the gold flecks in his eyes began to glow softly. "The energy readings you detected were my systems slowly coming online. My body sensed the approaching threat weeks ago and began preparing for combat." Before Zara could respond, the first Devourer warriors burst into the engineering section. They were massive creatures, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick armor and powerful energy weapons. Their faces were hidden behind combat masks, but their red eyes glowed with predatory hunger. "Surrender, small creatures," the lead Devourer growled. "Your suffering will be brief if you cooperate." Ben stepped in front of Zara, his maintenance tools somehow appearing in his hands. To the Devourers, he must have looked like easy prey, a small human with simple repair equipment facing trained warriors with military weapons. "Run, Commander," Ben said quietly. "Get your people to safety." The lead Devourer laughed and raised his energy rifle. "The human thinks he can fight us. This will be entertaining before we harvest his brain." What happened next changed everything Zara thought she knew about humans. Ben moved faster than her eyes could follow. One moment he was standing beside her with repair tools, the next he was behind the lead Devourer, and the alien warrior was falling to the ground with his throat cut. The maintenance tool in Ben's hand dripped with dark blood. The other Devourers fired their weapons, but Ben was already moving again. He flowed between their energy blasts like liquid shadow, striking with precision and speed that seemed impossible. Each movement was calculated and efficient, designed to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. In less than 30 seconds, 5 Devourer warriors lay dead or dying on the engineering deck. Ben stood among them without breathing hard, his tools clean and ready for the next threat. The gentle maintenance worker was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. "How?" Zara whispered. "Enhanced reflexes, improved muscle density, subdermal armor, tactical processing implants." Ben checked the hallway for more enemies before turning back to her. "Plus 20 years of combat experience in situations just like this." The communication system crackled with reports of fighting throughout the station. Grix and his team were being overwhelmed by superior numbers and firepower. Several crew members had already been captured or worse. "Your Vorthan security team cannot handle this many Devourers," Ben said. "But I can. Stay here and monitor the communication systems. Guide any survivors to the secure areas on the upper levels. You cannot fight an entire army by yourself." Ben smiled, and for the first time since she had known him, the expression looked truly dangerous. "Commander, you have no idea what one properly motivated human can accomplish." He disappeared into the corridor, moving with deadly purpose toward the sounds of battle. Zara remained in the engineering section, listening to radio reports and watching sensor readings as Ben made his way through the station. The Devourer boarding parties had expected easy prey, frightened scientists and lightly armed security guards. Instead, they found themselves facing something they had never encountered before. A human warrior who fought not just with skill and weapons, but with the calculated fury of a protector defending his chosen family. Through the communication system, Zara heard confused reports from Devourer squad leaders. Their warriors were disappearing from sections that should have been secure. Equipment was being destroyed in ways that suggested expert sabotage. The confident invaders were beginning to sound worried and uncertain. Ben was hunting them through their own battlefield, and the Devourers were learning what it meant to become prey. Ben moved through Gamma Station 7 like a force of nature. Zara monitored his progress through the security cameras, watching in amazement as her quiet maintenance worker systematically hunted the Devourer boarding parties. Each encounter lasted only seconds. The aliens who had terrified the entire galaxy for centuries were being eliminated by a single human with simple tools and deadly precision. "Commander Zara, this is Grix," came the panicked voice over the communication system. "We are trapped in Section 4. The Devourers have us surrounded. My warriors are wounded, and we are running out of ammunition. Hold your position, Grix. Help is coming." Zara switched to a different channel. "Ben, can you hear me?" "I hear you, Commander." His voice was calm and steady, showing no signs of the intense combat he had been engaged in. "I am heading to Section 4 now. Tell Grix to take his team to the emergency shelter and stay there. Ben, there are at least 20 Devourer warriors in that area. You cannot handle them all alone. Watch me." Through the security cameras, Zara saw Ben approach Section 4 from an unexpected direction. Instead of using the main corridors, he moved through maintenance tunnels and service passages that only he knew well enough to navigate quickly. His transformation was now complete, and she could see the changes clearly. His skin had a metallic sheen that suggested the subdermal armor he had mentioned. His movements were fluid and controlled, each step calculated for maximum efficiency. Most striking were his eyes, which now glowed with golden light that helped him see clearly in the dark passages. Ben emerged behind the Devourer squad that had Grix and his team pinned down. The aliens were focused on their frontal assault and never suspected an attack from their rear position. Ben struck with overwhelming speed and violence, his maintenance tools modified somehow to cut through their thick armor like paper. The Devourer squad leader turned to face this new threat, raising his heavy energy weapon. Ben was already inside the alien's guard, driving a sharpened tool through a gap in the armor. The massive warrior fell, and his remaining troops found themselves caught between Ben's assault and the renewed fire from Grix's surviving Vorthons. "Impossible," one of the Devourers growled over their communication frequency. "What is this creature?" "Human," Ben replied simply, before cutting down 2 more warriors with a movement too fast for their enhanced reflexes to follow. The surviving Devourers in Section 4 retreated, but Ben followed them relentlessly. He had become something beyond human, a perfect fusion of organic enhancement and cybernetic precision. Every movement served a purpose, every strike found its target, and every decision brought him closer to eliminating the threat to his chosen family. Zara received reports from throughout the station as news of the humans' rampage spread among the Devourer forces. Squad leaders who had been confident of easy victory now spoke in worried tones about a monster loose in the station corridors. Several teams requested immediate evacuation rather than continue their advance. "Commander," Dr. Yella contacted her from the science lab where she had been hiding with other crew members. "The Devourer command ship is moving closer to the station. I think their leader wants to handle this situation personally." Through the main view screen, Zara watched the largest enemy vessel approach. It was twice the size of the other ships, covered in weapons and armor that marked it as a flagship. If the Devourer commander came aboard personally, it meant the situation had escalated beyond a simple harvesting operation. "Ben," she called over the communication system. "The enemy commander is coming. Can you handle whatever they send next?" "That depends on how smart their leader is. Most devourers rely on size and brute force. If this one is different, things could get more interesting." A massive boarding tube extended from the command ship and attached to the station's main docking bay. Unlike the smaller assault pods used by the regular warriors, this connection was designed to allow larger equipment and personnel to board safely. The first thing to emerge was a combat platform nearly 4 meters tall, armed with heavy weapons and thick armor plating. Behind it came the Devourer commander, a giant even by his species standards. His armor was decorated with trophies from countless victories, and his weapons were clearly of superior quality. "Attention, station crew," the commander's voice boomed through the communication system. "I am War Leader Krex. I have come to personally destroy whatever creature has been eliminating my warriors. Surrender now, and I will make your deaths swift." "Ben," Zara said urgently. "This one is different. He looks like an experienced military commander, not just another raider." "I know. I have been watching him through the security feeds. He moves like a professional soldier." Ben's voice carried a note of respect for his opponent. "This will be a real fight." Zara made a decision that surprised herself. "I am coming to help you." "Commander, that is not necessary. Stay where you are safe. My people, my responsibility. Besides, I am a Kytherian warrior. We do not hide while others fight our battles." Zara armed herself with a plasma rifle and energy sword before making her way through the station corridors. She found Ben in the main assembly area, preparing for the final confrontation. His transformation was now so complete that she barely recognized the quiet maintenance worker she had known. "You should not be here," Ben said without looking at her. "This Krex is dangerous. I can sense it from here. Then you will need backup." Zara took position beside him, her weapon ready. "What is the plan?" "Simple. I draw his attention while you coordinate the defense of any crew members still in unsecured areas. When the opportunity presents itself, we eliminate him together." The massive doors to the assembly area burst open, and War Leader Krex entered with his combat platform and a squad of elite guards. Up close, the Devourer commander was even more intimidating. His red eyes glowed with intelligence and malice, and his movements spoke of decades of successful combat. "So you are the human who has been troubling my forces," Krex said, his voice deep and menacing. "You are smaller than I expected." "Size does not matter as much as you think," Ben replied calmly. "Your warriors learned that lesson before they died." Krex laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Confidence is good in a warrior, but you face Krex the Slayer now. I have conquered 30 worlds and destroyed armies much larger than one enhanced human." 30 worlds, Ben repeated thoughtfully. "That means 30 worlds full of innocent people who will never see their families again because of you." Something changed in Ben's posture and voice. The calm professional soldier was replaced by something far more dangerous. Zara could feel the temperature in the room seem to drop as Ben's enhanced systems reached full combat readiness. "Your mistake, Krex, was coming to a place I have decided to protect." The battle began with explosive violence. Krex's guards opened fire with their energy weapons while the combat platform launched missiles at Ben's position. The human moved like liquid lightning, flowing between the incoming projectiles and returning fire with weapons that had appeared in his hands as if by magic. Zara provided covering fire, her plasma rifle taking down 2 of the elite guards before they could flank Ben's position. Her Kytherian military training served her well, but she found herself struggling to keep up with the pace of combat that Ben had set. Ben reached the combat platform and began dismantling it with his bare hands, ripping through metal armor plating and destroying internal systems. The massive machine tried to crush him with its mechanical arms, but he was always one step ahead, striking at weak points with surgical precision. War Leader Krex watched the destruction of his equipment with growing anger. When Ben finished with the combat platform, the Devourer commander drew his personal weapons and advanced for single combat. Enough games, human. Face me directly if you have the courage. Ben discarded his tools and faced the massive alien warrior empty-handed. Krex was armed with an energy blade nearly 2 meters long and a plasma cannon built into his armor. The size difference between them was enormous, but Ben showed no fear or hesitation. "Zara, get the remaining crew to safety," Ben said quietly. "This will get dangerous. I am not leaving you to fight alone. Then stay back and be ready to finish him if I fail." Krex charged forward with surprising speed for such a large creature, his energy blade sweeping toward Ben in an arc that could have cut a smaller building in half. Ben ducked under the swing and struck at the alien's knee joint, his enhanced strength allowing him to crack the thick armor plating. The Devourer commander stumbled but recovered quickly, firing his plasma cannon at point-blank range. Ben rolled aside, the superheated energy blast scorching the floor where he had been standing. He came up behind Krex and leaped onto the alien's back, striking at the connections between armor segments. For the next several minutes, Zara watched one of the most incredible displays of combat skill she had ever witnessed. Ben fought like a force of nature, using every advantage his enhanced physiology provided while avoiding the devastating attacks of his much larger opponent. Krex was skilled and experienced, but Ben was something the Devourer had never faced before. A human warrior pushed beyond normal limitations, fighting not just for victory but for the survival of people he had chosen to protect. The end came suddenly. Krex made a slight error in timing, leaving himself open for just a moment too long. Ben struck with all his enhanced strength at the alien's throat, his hand penetrating the armor and crushing vital structures beneath. War leader Krex fell to his knees, then collapsed completely. The terror of 30 worlds was dead, defeated by a single human who had pretended to be nothing more than a maintenance worker. "Attention all Devourer forces," Ben said into Krex's communication device. "Your leader is dead. Leave this system immediately, or face the same fate." Through the station's sensors, Zara watched the enemy fleet receive the message. Within minutes, the ships began withdrawing, moving away from Gamma Station 7 with obvious haste. The Devourers had never encountered anything like Ben before, and they wanted no part of whatever species could produce such warriors. As the immediate danger passed, Ben's enhanced systems began powering down. The golden glow faded from his eyes, his skin returned to normal color, and his posture became less aggressive. The transformation was reversing itself, returning him to the appearance of a quiet maintenance worker. "The crew can come out now," Ben said tiredly. "The station is secure." Zara looked at him with new understanding. "How many of you are there? How many humans like you?" Ben cleaned his tools and put them back in his belt pouches. "Enough. We are scattered throughout the galaxy, working normal jobs, living quiet lives. But when something threatens innocent people, we remember what we were trained to be. Why hide? With abilities like yours, humans could dominate this entire region of space. Because that is not who we want to be." Ben started walking toward the exit, ready to return to his duties. "We fought our wars and won our battles. Now we prefer to build things instead of destroying them. But we never forget how to fight when fighting becomes necessary." Over the following days, as the station crew recovered from the attack, Zara found herself observing Ben with entirely new eyes. He went back to his maintenance work, speaking little and avoiding attention, but now she could see the watchful predator beneath the gentle facade. Other crew members treated him with even more respect than before, though none of them spoke directly about what they had witnessed. The Vorthan security team was especially deferential, clearly understanding that they served under the protection of something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. "Commander," Dr. Yella said during their weekly science briefing, "I have been researching human military history since the attack. The information available is limited, but what I found is disturbing." "How so?" "Humans have been involved in conflicts throughout this sector for decades, always on the winning side, but their participation is rarely mentioned in official records. It appears they prefer to remain invisible. Zara nodded, thinking about Ben's words. Humans did not want to dominate the galaxy through force. They had chosen a different path, becoming the hidden guardians who appeared when peaceful species needed protection from threats they could not handle alone. That night, Zara stood at her window watching the stars and thinking about the implications of what she had learned. Humans were not the weak, harmless creatures most species believed them to be. They were apex predators who had chosen to hide their true nature, living among other species as equals while secretly serving as their protectors. Ben continued his maintenance work, but now Zara understood that he was also standing guard over everyone on Gamma Station 7. Somewhere in the galaxy, other humans were doing the same thing, watching and waiting for the moment when their particular combination of skills and determination would be needed again. The thought should have been frightening, but instead Zara found it strangely comforting. In a dangerous universe full of threats like the Devourers, it was good to know that humanity had not forgotten how to fight for what mattered most.